everybody. How's everyone doing? All right. Well, I'm not going to reintroduce myself. I'm going to jump right in. We're going to start with the first question. We've got 10 of them today, and there's so many that can be asked. But
dun, dun, dun. Like,
dun,
okay,
dun,
dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
We worked hard on the graphics, so please be kind.
But I'm actually going to start with a question for all of you. So how many of you here today are brand marketers? Work at companies where you oversee some type of brand marketing? Awesome. Now, for those of you that put your hands up, I'm having a hard time.
It doesn't work. Am I pointing it at the wrong thing?
Well, that's all right. We'll keep going as we figure out how to. There we go.
No!
So preview of question 2. All right. So do we have internal alignment on what it is, right? So for those of you that raised your hand and are brand marketers, how many of you know exactly what the metaverse is and what it can do for your brand and business? All right, so we've got a couple people that have got their hands up, which is great. So
maybe
you
they
should probably
come
be
up
up here. Yeah, exactly. Well, I think like right now is such an exciting time to really figure out and define what the metaverse is for your brand and for your business. I don't think, at least in my opinion, that anyone's really cracked the nut on what it is, because there are so many new technologies, there are so many new platforms, and it's really an awesome time for you to dive deep and figure out what it is for your brand or for your business. At Walmart, we're not rushing in. We're trying to be really thoughtful and mindful about how we show up, when we show up, and who we're connecting with, so that we're doing so in a way that is authentic and meaningful. You'll hear me say authentic a lot as it relates to the questions I'm going to answer today, because it's so important that you do so in a way that drives that meaningful customer engagement. So to close this out, it's really about going deep and figuring out exactly what it is for your brand or for your business. And tap external partners, tap internal experts to figure out, again, how to show up authentically to drive that meaningful engagement. There are some partners that we work with here today, so thank you for being here, who have helped us become smarter at what we want to do. But once you decide how your brand shows up, it's about figuring out, and Cynthia's going to answer this one, exactly what you need to do as it relates to your branding. So do you need to redesign your logo, think about fonts and colors?
Well, I think we should make it clear to the audience, we are not here to give them answers. Probably the only session here that you don't walk out with a solution. But those of us who do the art and practice of brand have been used to like this maniacal consistency. We do the logo, hopefully we spend less than $1 million, but then we trademark it, we research it, we tell everybody that they have to follow it. You know, the brand police is such a, I once deputized the whole creative, anyway. So I think the answer might be yes, because now it's a new space. Your colors may not translate. Like, what on earth is a corporate font in immersive and metaverse? I don't know. Maybe it stays the same. So this could be an opportunity for you to create a new version, and maybe you're going to be like an ingredient brand or endorsed brand, like such and such in the metaverse, or the metaverse brought to you by such and such. So the answer is for core brand assets is just something to think about, because they may not travel. And that's going to be painful, because you also don't want to leave behind what you're already doing. So again, we don't know the answer, but something to think about. Okay, and you're going to answer the next one.
I am. I think this might be my favorite question of the day. It's a little sensational. I feel like when I read Burner Brand or I say Burner Brand, I feel like I'm watching an episode of Ozark on Netflix. I don't know if any of you watch it. I don't want to digress too far, but it's a great show and it's a little sensational. And I like this question because I'm a huge believer in testing and learning. And I'll tell you a little story about the testing and learning strategy that we used at Walmart last year around shoppable live streaming. So shoppable live streaming is a relatively new medium here in the States. Last year, Walmart threw a lot of shit at the wall. We wanted to really figure out what would work for our brand and for our business as it relates to this new medium. We were the first to execute on TikTok, the first on Twitter, the first on YouTube. We built our own platform, but really it was a year of testing and learning. So we tested all those platforms, but we tested different categories, hosts, formats, styles, really to get a sense of like what our customers were looking for as it related to this new medium of shoppable live streaming. To contextualize that further for you, last year we supported approximately 40 shoppable live streams divided by the brand team and the media team. To date this year, from February to end of May, we've supported more than 150. We've been able to do that because of our testing and learning strategy last year. So we're more cost efficient, we're better at production, et cetera. I bring that up because I think the same type of thinking can be applied here. And so I'm not going to tell you whether or not you should go into these immersive spaces or these new platforms with a burner brand, it's something that you have to think about as a brand marketer, and it's going to depend on what you're doing, who you're trying to connect with, and so weigh the pros and cons of both and make that decision from there. I do think that this is a very unique opportunity to lean into opportunities with developers that know a platform very well, gaming communities that are active on a platform, to really build a relationship with them and leverage their expertise to test prototypes, test hypotheses, so that you're approaching this in a way that when you show up, it's done authentically, and you're driving that meaningful engagement. And so I don't have the perfect answer for this. It's a very much pros and cons type of thing. But think about that testing and learning strategy to get to a place where when you show up, it's done so in the right way. So now we're going to move from sensational burner brands to something a little less sensational and talk about corporate governance and expanding your ethics language.
Right, and if I could expand on that, I was going to say, like, and if we had done a burner brand, no one would know it.
Right.
So, yeah, okay. I'm not saying we did, but I think sometimes when you do brand strategy and you want to go into something new, you ask that question, does our brand have permission?
Sure.
Like, in other words, when Apple was talking about making cars, I hope that they asked, do we have permission to be in the automotive industry, right? Seems obvious to us, but so I think that's also a good question, like burner brand or not, what will people say? Okay. Do we have any lawyers in the audience? Okay, that's all right. I'm not either. But interesting, I started to read our own user agreements, and then at Walmart, we take ethics and compliance very seriously because we have a lot of suppliers. So it refers to how to relate to one another, how do we do business with partners, and the user agreement, pretty sure that if you went through the ones that you have, that it doesn't talk enough about what is the agreement. It's in the news a lot about how do we keep people safe. What is the promise, because that is brand. What's the promise that we're making to our customers for the experience they're going to have? So we need to dig those user agreements up and just look at the language. Does it need, maybe it's already good. Maybe you're good. The people that raise their hand probably are like, I have it. I'll send it to you. But these things are important, and I mean, the ethics and compliance also speaks to employer brand, and I don't want to leave employer brand out of the conversation. You've got to bring your employees along as well. This refers to recruiting and retention, so all of that is in that language, taking a look at it. Okay, so since mine is boring, I guess your next one's going to be exciting.
Well, I think
Wait, I want emphasis on, don't just answer this, but how? Seriously, how?
Well, I feel like if I had the perfect answer to this question, I'd probably be on the main stage. And
Okay,
I think I'm going to go back to what I said in regards to the first question and really defining what the metaverse is for your brand and for your business. So the same applies here with success. What does success look like for your brand or for your business based on what you're doing? It's not going to be one size fits all. And as you enter into these immersive platforms and you build relationships with gaming communities and you use AR to assist your customers, it's really gonna depend on what you're hoping to achieve. And really, I would say going in with that testing and learning strategy is gonna set you up for success, but thinking through your learning agenda with everything that you do. And that learning agenda can evolve and can change with each activation or with each experience or with each technological advance that you make and what you provide to your customers. And from there, you can start to think about your short-term and your long-term goals. So your short-term goals might be around driving meaningful engagement. They might be around shifting brand perception. Maybe it's just about building brand equity within this space. The long-term goals might be more closely tied to your business. So it might be around revenue, driving sales of virtual merchandise, so virch, as we like to say at Walmart. Which I don't know if that's a thing or not, but we say it quite often.
Trying to make it a thing.
Yeah,
Go
trying
ahead.
to make it a thing. Or it's about a certain adoption rate of a new technology that you've introduced to your customers. But the most important thing is to really think about that learning agenda. And so as you start to implement or launch these new experiences or technologies, what is it that you want to learn, and how do those tie to that short-term list of goals as well as those long-term list of goals? And we're all figuring it out. So it isn't a one-size-fits-all, and so again, I don't have the perfect answer for this, but I do think that it's important for that learning agenda to inform ultimately what success could be for your brand. And of course, what success looks like might be inspired by your existing brand pillars. It might be inspired by the future of your brand pillars. And so Cynthia, what does the brand pillar of human look like and mean today in this space?
Like this one, it doesn't keep me up at night, but I get excited when I think about this because it's one of those leading questions that we're all thinking about here. When we can be anybody that we want to be, is that still human? And we were talking about this, that in brand guidelines, you have these really well thought out and probably well-researched customer profiles. Like ours for Walmart is very specific. In fact, if I go into a Walmart, I can be like, that totally is our customer, like absolutely to the letter. And so we know, okay, we're building for that person, all the engineering, all the marketing. But now, I'm not going to, they look like a butterfly with a rabbit tail. I like, how do you know that your brand pillars will speak to a new kind of customer? So again, we don't have the answer, but it's really interesting. We're working on this as well. Walmart is a very human brand, but we definitely need to have a conversation about how or if that definition should be expanded, because you can't start to do a roadmap and to do a white paper to start to build things if you don't know the answers. This is what I feel. If you don't know the answers to that question, who are you going to build for and how are you going to build it, right? So I don't know what it means. But I know the pillar of innovation can probably go away. Okay. All right, now, in terms of customers, sometimes I feel like people might be being left out or left behind. Like, are we just like trading one customer for like a whole new cohort that's like more cool, or?
Yeah, I mean, the short answer is no. And at Walmart, every customer is important to us. There's a famous Sam Walton quote, and I'm like, because I'm on stage, I'm a little nervous. I'm probably going to mess it up. But hopefully I'll do him and the company proud. But it's that the customer is the boss, and that he can fire anyone in the company. He, she, or they can fire anyone in the company all the way up to the CEO just by spending their money with somebody else. And there obviously are many other quotes that all of you have probably heard before, like the customer is number one, the customer is always right. And I think in this instance, the sentiment of those quotes holds true. And as the metaverse grows and adoption of augmented reality and virtual reality grows, like there's going to be an increase in adoption rates. There's going to be more and more people that are coming into these spaces, more and more people that are using this technology. And so it's really an opportunity to engage with active customers, lapsed customers, and new customers. But it really depends on what it is that you're building and what your goals are and what success looks like for you. So for new customers, maybe you're introducing them to your brand for the first time. You're showing up in a platform that maybe they just never expected you to show up, but you've built something that is authentic for that platform. So that keyword again, authentic. It's authentic to that audience, and it's meaningful. And so their first experience with your brand is positive, and they're going to become a lifelong customer. Maybe they walk through a Walmart door, they buy some clothes, they buy groceries, but they've had a really positive experience with you in an immersive or virtual world. For existing customers, maybe you're introducing a new technology that allows them to shop with your brand in a much easier way than ever before. Maybe they're able to do it at home. Maybe they're able to see a couch in their living room and buy that couch with confidence because they've used augmented reality to see what it looks like, and they know how it's gonna fit, and so they're buying it with confidence. It's leading to fewer returns, and it's just a really positive customer experience. And so it depends on what you're building and what you hope to achieve. So going back to that question about success and that learning agenda, but really we're not trading customers as we move into this space. I think there's an opportunity to create meaningful engagement with all customers.
Do you think that if you're not sure about the answer, this could be a burner brand conversation? Like we're not sure who the customer might be, so maybe that's one of those deciding factors, like let's see first if
Totally.
the people that engage with the content look like the people we have now, or
Totally.
I don't know if you agree, you're the expert. So.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking earlier, and now I'm just gonna pivot a little bit, but about success and how we're still thinking through and having conversations, and I'm sure many of you in this room are as well, about attribution and sort of how that plays into that success model and sort of how to make sure that when you're investing and you're showing up, that you can actually attribute people walking through the door to that experience or that technology. And I think it kind of aligns nicely with what you just asked, which is like, how do we actually know if these customers are like the customers that we think are engaging with our brand? And so it's such an opportunity to learn together. And I'm sure there's probably some people here that have some technology that might actually close the gap from an attribution standpoint.
I hope so.
Yeah.
No, the user journey chart, we can't make it on a wall anymore. It has to be actually, because it's no longer flat. Speaking of flat.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're talking about customers, and of course, like one of the things we have to think about is customer service and like how that fits into this picture and model.
Again, like so meaty. In the companies in which I've worked, customer service, sometimes they get the least amount of attention from the brand team, which the truth is, these people are so important. They are the front lines of the interaction. And if you've ever done listening sessions, I don't know about you, but I have been humbled to my core. Like, what do you mean they can't find the login button? I designed it like, it's amazing and it's right there. So it really humbles you. So then we have to think about all the new kind of questions that may come up that people are going to call about. Is it like press 5 for the metaverse? I mean, no, I don't think so. So this is a difficult one in terms of investment, because you think about how you've built your customer care organization already. It's so expensive, and to get it right is important. And so now it's like, and again, I don't know the answer, do you carve out a particular set of agents and you train them and you make sure that they're really well versed, and you can't predict every question, but that they can answer in a way that makes sense. But then we know human nature, if you're on hold, you're going to just like push 000 and just get the regular one anyway. Maybe, and I hope some people do this, there's customer care in immersive, in the metaverse. That would be really nice, but you're still going to have people there answering the question. Also with emails, right? You get a lot of email response to customer care. So this is a hard one. It's one of those, we wanted all of our questions to be single line, to be deceptively simple, but I can't say enough of how important it is to consider this point. All right. We're getting there. Number 9. Ready?
I'm ready.
What? Is it a channel?
Of course it's a channel. And I'm going to go back to what I was saying earlier around success metrics and thinking through your learning agenda and those short-term goals and those long-term goals. Like the way in which you approach the metaverse and immersive experiences and gaming communities and augmented reality technologies, like these services or these platforms or these technologies, like they very much should be a part of how you're thinking about brand campaigns and marketing campaigns, where you're really driving engagement with customers in a really new and meaningful way. Like think about social media. Like what Facebook was many, many, many years ago is not what it is today. And the way that brands are using it is very different today than what it was many, many years ago. The same for Twitter, the same for Instagram. And that's probably going to happen here as well, which is you're going to figure out what the metaverse is for your brand and for your business. You're going to figure out what those success metrics are, that learning agenda, those short-term goals, those long-term goals. And then from there, you're going to come up with a strategy, but that strategy is probably going to change. And that's okay. And it should. The same way what you did on social media 10, 15 years ago is not what you're doing today. And so to make sure that you're constantly keeping in touch with what's happening, continue to come to conferences like this to learn from people like us, but from so many other people, because we're all in this together. And I think by working together and having conversations, we're going to figure out what success looks like and how to actually ensure that we're scaling this channel together. But let's quickly close out with whether or not, as you enter into this space and you think about brand campaigns, you need to start thinking about renegotiating some of your contracts.
Again, a simple sentence that just is so broad, right? We hire makers and builders and even like actors and models, musicians, people that make our content. And, I've worked in this field a long time, and the contract, like the SAG contract, like does it, like I'm pretty sure there's, well, I don't know, but maybe there's no boxes yet for immersive. And of course, you can approximate someone as well. So the usage rights we just have to start talking about what those sound like and what those look like and how we're going to negotiate it. Because if we don't get ahead of it, it's going to be much more expensive when someone comes to us and says, this is how much it costs. But it is a chance to be fair, right, and equitable. But so many things come up. I know that Shutterstock is here, but like when you buy a stock photo, there's like, how are you going to use it? Check, 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 check. And there has to be a metaverse box. I don't even know what the right thing is. But I know for us, we create content with all kinds of makers. And we have master services agreements and things like that. So to be fair to all of our artists and makers, let's take a look at the terms. And for everyone, maybe it's different. But believe me, perhaps there's going to be a SAG, but it will be an immersive talent agent. I mean, we got to look out for these unions that will form, because that will be great for those creative people. So maybe the industry will define it for us, but just something to think about. Oh my God, we got through 10. Yeah. So we could say any questions, but like, would that be 11? But no, you guys have been awesome. So I think yeah. So does anyone have any questions? Is your head just exploding like ours does every day?
I have a lot of questions, actually. We'll talk later.
Appropriate.
Sure,
yeah.
Sure.
Welcome.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Francis Chen. I'm 3D animator, artist, creator. So I'm more on the creative side, was marketing and stuff. So I think a use case that's really popping up for the Metaverse channel is like how to use the Metaverse as a way to help market tell a story about underutilized inventory of like the existing shop. Because what I think what happens is that, you might have like a whole bunch of really good products, but the story hasn't been translated. Maybe an AR, VR version of that via like a Roblox event could be a way to channel that, tell the story. So I guess the question that really pops in my mind is that a particular use case that you would probably look into exploring, and sort of like, hey, let's tell a story of this product that, like, in the garden section or the home appliances section. Like, oh wow, this electronic looks really well and has this features. Have you all thought about that? Thank you so much.
Yeah. It's a great question.
If I just think about it, I'm not up here representing Walmart per se, but if I think about, we pride ourselves, we want to give our customers every day the lowest price. But of course, then we have inventory that might be might represent itself better. Like if we could do some fun stuff with it. And like I could think about lawnmowers, like they're just sitting there, but it would be really fun and immersive to do some things. I'm just making this up, don't.
I like where you're going with
I heard you
lawnmowers.
But I think what you're asking speaks to that. Is it a channel?
Yes.
And then if it's a channel, we need channel managers. We need creative teams that are experts in that. We need creative strategy that uses that channel. So one question becomes another. But I love that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, let's say you go to IKEA and you're like, wow, there's this bunch of
Who?
furniture. IKEA.
I'm sorry, I don't.
IKEA, the furniture store.
No, I don't. Are they around?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I'm kidding. Oh my God. I love them.
Yeah, let's say like Roblox.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Oh my God, I'm being filmed.
Sorry.
I'm fired.
Sorry. I was saying, let's say you have like an IKEA Roblox thing, and you're like featuring their furniture and collaborating with like the amazing creators there, and like you're chilling out in the metaverse with your friends. It's a great idea, and I'm just exploring like. There are a lot of ways to position like this stuff in the gaming culture that just fits really well. So just throwing it out.
I can tell you're a creative person and creator, and keep going, because like when we hire you to help us decide like how can we promote the lawnmowers, right? Like it's
true. It's true.
I mean, it's wonderful. It's wonderful how every time you sit through one of these, more questions, more ideas. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Don't ever change.
Let's talk later. Thank you so much.
Any other questions for them?
Oh, yes.
If you can just go up to the mic, please. Thank you.
It's mind-blowing, I know, as the silence makes sense.
So you mentioned about the service agents. Okay, I don't know anything about this field. I'm just here listening. But could you be using the metaverse agents too? I mean, to solve people's problems?
Customer care, so we go back to the pillar of human. Not for every company. When I was at PayPal, one of our pillars was human, and we had to redo all of the scripts, and we had to retrain everyone to reflect humanity. So the question becomes, how a customer care organization that's built around humanity, maybe it makes sense to have a bureau, a desk, whatever it is, that is in virtual. Maybe it makes more sense that that is something that's offline. But as we roll forward, as I'm talking about, what, Cynthia, like really gonna pick up the phone? Like what year is this? Sorry. But I do think that where they show up, I mean, look, we already have live chat, we have voice, so we're already doing it many different ways, but when people have a question about your brand, that is a moment that can go so wrong. And then you're like, why didn't they ever come back? You don't know, so. Hopefully that just brought up more questions.
Great. Any other final questions? All right, let's give them a round of applause. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Great insights.